We are going live now on YouTube. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Tolufa Fuwera with World of a Parent short series. So we are trying to wait a little bit for people that will be joining us on Instagram. But today is a somber day of some sort, actually, because of the nature of what we are going to be discussing. Today, we are discussing the impact of the recent racial events, especially here in the United States and frankly, all over the world, but the impacts of the recent racial events on our children and ways that parents, we as parents, can manage these things and their thoughts and emotions in the face of all of this. Oh, thank you, Dana Pog. I see you there. So, this is the reason we're having this special edition today of World of a Parent short series. And we're in the 21st century. Most people that watch TV, I don't even do too much of TV watching anymore, interestingly. But for most of us that watch TV, even if we don't watch TV, honestly, by now we all know what's going on. It's sad, it's bizarre, it's hard for anyone with flesh and blood, frankly speaking, to understand. It's hard to understand, it's hard to follow. I tell you what, if you're anything like me, I'm a bit squirmish when it comes to violence. And watching the recent event of, the man whose life was taken, literally being recorded, it's hard, it's tough. As we go on, I just want to encourage everyone on YouTube, on Instagram, to please talk, chime along, ask questions. Let's discuss. This is a discussion, but a discussion that I think parents need to have. Nobody has a manual of handling this kind of situation. So we're here to discuss, we're here to reason together, we're here to figure it out together. But as I started to say, we're in the 21st century, and it's almost as if being black, let's say it as it is, being black or brown, being a person of color, is as if we have to um, victim proof ourselves, if there's any such thing. Like we have to victim proof ourselves. Now, it's one thing for us adults to deal with, to think about in terms of what's going on and the implications. Some of us, it's not as gruesome as that, but if you're a person of color, one way or another, you probably have felt the heat of either prejudice or, just being treated differently at some point or the other. I'm going to take a pause. I feel the need to say something. World of a parent, we're a world within a world. Yes, it's a world of parents, but we're not isolated. We're a world within a world. And the world we live in constantly cries for us, you know, managing us within it, managing our positions within it. And this is what we are for. So, this is an organization that is faith based. And so, when we speak, when we talk, sometimes we quote scriptures, and our principles are based on the word of God. But today, it's just something that has effect on everyone, regardless of your faith, regardless of um, where you come from, your age, your gender, your ethnicity. Right now, if you're a person of color, this transcends everything. But now, we as parents, we want to see how we can not only handle ourselves, but how do we handle the children that we have? These children, they're growing up innocent, but then they see these things. They're not blind. They see what is going on. And they're bound to ask questions. They're bound to wonder. And if we leave them, if you see what's been going on TV, lots of violence, lots of, I mean, there's peaceful demonstration, but the media seems to also be capturing all the looting and the unrest and everything that is accompanying what is going on. Now, the truth is, this is not even in isolation. The issue of the killing is not in isolation. We were already faced with COVID-19, a pandemic that has affected a lot of people, affected a lot of families, a lot of the survival of families. People are already under pressure because of this. We were already dealing with that, dealing with job loss, being faced with probable loss of our homes or houses, loss of savings, loss of investments. We were already faced with these things. And coupled with the fact that people already feel like they cannot trust the leadership that we have, we got to call it as it is. Again, I will keep reiterating, this is not a political platform. These are just parents that want to do right and raise healthy kids, raise kids with strong emotional quotient, with good morals, children that will have a good tomorrow. This is what we're about. But we're involved in a world, like I said in the beginning, we're faced with all these things that I listed: the pandemic, job situation, either reduced income or outright no income. At this point, we're faced with that. We're faced with loss of savings. Some people have already dug into their savings, just trying to make things work together. Loss of investments. I know people that are worried about the investments they've had, things that they think they're going to fall back on. Some people are wondering if it's going to mean anything at the end of the day. And now we don't have any trust of the leadership. Mind you, there are people that live looking up to leadership. Yes, there are a few of us that, if there is life, there is hope. We keep running and walking and crawling, whatever we can do, but we keep moving. But there are people that look up to leadership. But whatever it is that you do, at the end of the day, there is an umbrella that covers all of us, and that's the leadership. So the leadership has failed. A lot of people feel that way. And on top of that, the fact that leadership has failed us, no peaceful living. A man can't even say, um, I feel like I have someone watching over me. And so if I'm in a situation that I feel I need a security padding or a layer of security, I can run to the cops. I'm not here to blame anyone. I'm not here to blame the cops. But it is what it is. What we're faced with is what we're faced with. So at this point, we're talking about, how do we victim proof our children? This is not about the grown-up children that are in the streets already. These are even the children that are growing up. Kids nowadays they're so verbal. How do you explain what you're looking at on TV to that child? How do you proof the child against what they're going to hear from friends, from families, of friends that they have in school, in the neighborhood? How do we protect the minds of these children? How do we? We have to figure something out. As parents, the onus is on us. It's a lot of noise. It's a lot of things going on. and rightly so. You know what? If I will go back a little bit, when I was growing up, my dad, he made us watch Roots. I know a lot of newer generation might not know what that movie is, but that movie tells the story of African Americans and slavery and what they had to face. Very old movie, but my father made us watch that movie. And I remember that back then I didn't get it, but I had a problem with what was going on with these people, the suffering, what they were facing, the injustice, how they were being handled. I didn't know why. I mean, I knew they talked about slavery, but it still was a bit too much for my mind. By and by, I got to know it. Like I said, I've not been watching too much of TV because I have issues with um, violence. So by and by, that was probably in the early 80s, I got what the message was. I got what the message was about slavery. I never really got why a fellow human being will do that to another human being. Fast forward, I think 2001, 2002, 2000, yeah, 2001, 2002, another movie came out, Amistad. I never could watch that movie. It was still about what blacks faced during slave trade, during slavery. And why am I saying this? I'm African, I'm Nigerian, and I'm always careful to say this to African Americans, especially. We that are immigrants, we that are, that we come from a certain place in Africa, we can read in history, we can watch in history, we can listen all we can. One thing is certain, I am careful to give the respect and the regard that's as close as we're ever going to feel. It's just history. We cannot begin to understand. Now, let's put that in the cooler somewhere. We can't begin to understand what the actual people that went through slavery, what they faced, what they went through. We may never understand that. But that's okay. Let's put that in the cooler. Fast forward, we're in the 2000s with what is going on. Now, let me read a few things to you so that I can tie this together and go into how we can help our children. Because whether or not they ask questions about what is going on, about what blacks and browns are facing, we as parents, we better be ready to equip our children. We as parents, we need to be ready to talk about it. It is not, oh, I'm protecting the child. You can't protect yourself from the world you live in. You can't protect your child from the world they live in. It is what it is. But let me read this to you. This is what blacks, African Americans, browns are facing all together. Whether we like it or not, this is what is the reality. Trayvon Martin, 2012, 17, he was shot. Eric Garner, 43 years old, 2014, he was killed in a chokehold while he was being arrested in New York. Ferguson, Missouri, Michael Brown, 18 years old, 2014, he was shot. Akai Gurley, New York, 28-year-old, 2014, he was shot. Now, with Akai Gurley, his family was compensated $4.1 million. Eric Garner in New York, the chokehold victim, his family was compensated with $6 million. Cleveland, Ohio, Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old child, 2014 was shot. His family was compensated $6 million. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Eric Harris, 44-year-old, 2015 was shot. North Charleston, South Carolina, Walter Scott, 50-year-old, 2015 was shot. All these victims were killed, by the way, in case you're wondering. Portsmouth, Virginia, William William Chapman II, 18-year-old, 2015 was shot and killed. Wilmington, Delaware, Jeremy McDowell, 28-year-old, in the year 2015 was shot, family compensated with $1.5 million. Minneapolis, Minnesota, Jamal Clark, 24-year-old, 2015 was shot. Baton Rouge, Alton Sterling, 37-year-old, in 2016 was shot. Tulsa, Oklahoma, Terrence Crutcher, 40-year-old, 2016 was shot. St. Anthony, Minneapolis, Philando Castile also was killed. His family compensated $3.8 million. Cincinnati, Sam DuBose had 13 children. In 2015, was shot and killed. His family was compensated a total of $5.3 million. Baltimore, Maryland, Freddie Gray, 25-year-old, 2015, he was killed while being arrested. His family was compensated $6.4 million. North Charleston, South Carolina, Walter Scott. That was the 50-year-old who was shot and killed. I read these things because this is the reality of what we live with right now. I just wanted to remind us. Again, I don't have any political view to this. I just want to talk about reality. Now let's go to, if your child then asks you about this, about what's going on, we see what's going on right now. If they're not asking you about the man that was being recorded, being killed, they're going to ask you about the riot. They're going to ask you about why the people that are looting are looting. It's all about the vantage point. They're going to see one thing and ask about it. Now, do you just want to say, oh, the looters are just looting? Absolutely. The ones that are looting are probably just looting. But don't forget, a lot of people are coming from a place of several factors: loss of job, no parents, incarcerated parents, now on top of house loss, no savings, no investment, no income, no food, nothing, and still feel like their very lives are being threatened. Where do we stand as parents? I think as parents, the first thing we need to do is to reset our minds. Whether we like it or not, we have to deal with ourselves first before we can deal with the children. We need to reset our minds. I'm going to read something quickly in Isaiah, the book of Isaiah, the Bible. If you don't know what that is, the book of Isaiah, and that's chapter 65 and verse 23. It says, they shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble. Let me read it exactly as it is, 65. And it says, yes, verse 23 says, they shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth children for trouble. They shall be the descendants of the blessed of the Lord, and their offsprings with them. Why did I read that scripture? You as a parent, we have to bring our hearts to the place where we believe we will get through this, where we'll survive this. It's not always going to be this way. If we're not catching ourselves and reminding ourselves that there's hope, then we might lose the hope. We as parents, we need to first reset our minds. We need to come with the assurance that we are not only going to get through this, we're going to get ahead of it. And that our children, they don't have to be victims. It's okay to say, I see what's going on, I'm empathetic, matter of fact, I'm angry. But let's protect the upcoming generation. Let's protect our children. Let's set them up for success and not for failure. We need to set our children up for success. And until we set ourselves up for that success, we can pass it down. So I think the first step in helping our children through what is going on with racial events is to get ourselves so that we can live the life for them to get themselves. Yes, we might be a person of color. Yes, we might be immigrants or just black or brown. But we have to know that there is a promise. The life that has been given unto us surely can be taken away. Now, it's one thing to believe that that child, the Bible says, you will not labor in vain, you will not bring forth children for trouble. Your child does not have to be one of the victims. Your child does not have to be lost to the system because they are the descendants of you, the blessed of the Lord, and even their offsprings with them. The second thing that we need to be mindful of, we have to believe in that. It's one thing for you to say, I'm resetting my mind. I'm going to hold on to what I believe the real truth is, which is the word of God. I know not everybody understands this. Not everybody practices faith this way. But when you've tried everything and there's nothing more that you can do, what then do we do? We need to go back to the higher power. We need to be able to stand for something. When you've tried it all, when you've yelled, you've shouted, you've marched, you've sang, you've spoken, you've reacted, and nothing is changed. It hasn't stopped. I just read out 15 names of people killed between 2012 and today. And that's not an exhaustive list. These were just ones that were really covered in the media and that generated a lot of ripples. Now, when you look at that, it's only natural for us as parents to wonder the system we're bringing our children up in. But after you've done everything, we can only revert back to the only higher power that can help us, and that is God, and believe in the word that He has spoken. There's one more thing that I'm going to read. Believe, I just said that. Believe. Believe is also important. We need to believe. We need to believe. We need to believe in what we're saying we believe in. And if we read in the Bible, the book of Psalms, chapter 147, and I think if you read verses 2 to 3, 11, and 13, it's also another reassurance. It's another reassurance that we can live and we can live a successful life, and we will live a successful life despite what is going on, despite the situation. I said chapter 1 for Psalms, chapter 147, and it says in verse 2, it says, the Lord builds up Jerusalem. He gathers together the outcasts of Israel. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. We can do this by ourselves. We cannot begin to heal the people that have been affected just by mere words. Only God can do that. But we have to believe that that is something that can be done and will be done. But one more thing that I just want to assure us as parents of, it is the Lord takes pleasure in those who fear Him, in those who hope in His mercy. If you fear the Lord, then you just have to believe that because He takes pleasure in you and because of your hope in His mercy. Verse 13 says, for He has strengthened the bars of your gates. He has blessed your children within you. Your children truly are blessed. So now that we have reset our minds and we believe that there is something beyond ourselves that we can rely on, that will get us through what is going on, what else? We have to be open and discuss. We have to be able to discuss with our children. We have to be able to speak to them plainly, clearly, truthfully about what is going on. No, we're not raising them up to be fearful. We're raising them up to know what the reality is. We have to be able to talk freely about the color and about where it puts them. This is not to say it makes them any less. This is not to say because our children are blacks and browns, African Americans to be specific right now, this is not to say it precludes them to achieving the greatest heights they can. This does not mean it separates them and it makes them any less than who they should be. But we have to be prepared to have the discussion and be open about the discussion and be honest about the discussion and tell our children that, look, truth be told, this is not being prejudiced. This is not pointing fingers, because I tell you, there are other people like us that are Caucasians, that are other races, that feel the pain, that see what is going on, that are appalled by it, that are concerned by the situation. So no, we're not race proofing our children. We're just trying to make sure they are learned, they know who they are, and then we build them up to be confident in who they are, to be confident in the color they're in, to be confident in who God has made them to be, knowing that God's got their back. But we have to be open about the conversation. If your child comes to you and asks you why I cannot, it's not enough for us to act in fear and say, no, you see the police, you run. No, that's not okay. That's not right. We need to be able to break it open, break it down, let them know that yes, you might have another expectation. You might have to comport yourself a certain way. You might have to be spoken to speak a certain way. This is not to say that you are a different human being, because I'm trying to find the word to use. That you're different, you're less than. No, you're not less than. But we have to be honest so that we can equip them that they don't fall victim. Now, in the discussion, we also have to be aware that for older children, they might be like me when I watched Roots. I was old enough to understand. I understood the language. I understood the pictures. I understood the movie. But it was still difficult for me to come to terms with one human being enslaving another and then abuse it. So our kids might be, fast forward, no, they don't know anything about slavery, and they believe in the world as the world should be, that all of us are equal, which is the beautiful thing about their minds. But we need to help protect that mind by being open about the discussion. With what is going on right now, we need to be able to talk about the child while reassuring you don't have to be nervous. You do not have to be anxious about this. But this is also the reason that you don't get to sag your pants just because. Because we're not playing by the same rules. We have to be able to discuss with our children. We have to acknowledge in that discussion the skew. It's a skewed map. Just what I started to say. 3 kids are walking down the street. One has a hoodie and is sagging his pants. The other one is just plain black, and the other one is Caucasian. We need to be able to let our kids know that it's not okay. First of all, it's not okay for you to even go like you are a nobody. But more so, now, this is not comradeship. This is not identifying with my roots. This is you living like the human being like that you are. Is it going to take away all the issues? Is it going to take away the fact that if fingers are being pointed at those 3 kids that I described, fingers are going to be pointed at the first 2 black kids before it's pointed at the Caucasian? That's the honest truth. I am not here to spew anything political. I am just here to talk because we need to have the discussion. We just have to have the discussion. I have a daughter who's old. She's 20, about 27, and I have a 19-year-old adopted son. And this is what I tell him. Look, no, I cannot see your boxers. No, you cannot lock your hair. I am not saying locking hair. That's just my policy in my home. No, you cannot walk out with rags or what looked like rags. You are from a respectable home. You're from a learned home. You are learned. Your parents are learned. You have to be seen and respected. You have to walk like a respected child. I'll tell you a story. I was driving in DC one day, and this is something, again, maybe the African in me jumped out. I was driving in DC. I was coming out of a McDonald's. I was at an intersection. As I was approaching the intersection, a bunch of school kids were passing by in their school uniform. They were passing by, evidently they were coming out of the McDonald's, and one of them decided to jump in front of my car. Jumped in front, not by mistake, not just jumped, and then decided, to go with a swag and look back at his friends and stop like, I did it. What can anybody do to me? But the African in me, truth be told, jumped out. And I stopped and I said, look here, boy. You have not added any stars to your jacket. What you have done is blatantly wrong, and you have just painted another target on your back. It's bad enough that you are looked at like you're being looked at, but it's worse for you to establish that you are a nobody by acting like a nobody. So get yourself together. This is something most parents don't do. I mean, and I understand some parents might jump and say, how dare you talk to my kid like that? But we need to separate ourselves. All those kids kept mum. They were quiet. That boy ran from the front of my car. I bet he had never had anybody spoken to him like that. I said that. Let's bring it back to our children. We need to let them know that it's a skewed equation, and then teach them the right thing to do. We must teach our children, allay their fears, and let them know they are strong, they are good. The sky doesn't even cut their limit. They can be anything that they want to be if they set their minds to it. We need to build their minds up. Truth be told, people are angry, but we cannot hide under that and sabotage the destinies of our children. Because if we don't set them up right, we're sabotaging their destinies. We need not do that. We need to say the right things at the right time. Teach them the right things. Now, I know all relationships are not equal in all homes. I do know that sometimes, especially for the grown-up, the grown teens and the young adults, sometimes they're not just listening anymore. But unless we start having these conversations early, unless we start letting them know the truth about the world we live in, no, this is not to make them hate another race. This is not to make them dislike another color. No, it is so that they have strong personalities, strong minds, strong emotions. They're built up all right. The emotional quotient is on par, so that when they step out there, the chances reduce that they will fall victim. And if we talk to them early about this, we'll take away the anxiety and replace it with knowledge. That's what we need to do. No, we don't need to keep them in fear. I'll tell you another story before I leave. During Freddie Gray's murder in Baltimore. This was in 2015. When they had this kind of situation going on and there was demonstration all over the United States and different cities, Washington, D.C. was demonstrating also. And I came in contact with a young man, a young African American man. And I said, why are you, what's the point? Yes, you know, blacks feel that they're wronged, and rightly so. I mean, I just read a few names here of people that were killed for no apparent reason, including a 12-year-old. There's no way to excuse that. Nobody is excusing that. And of the 15 names that I read, I do not have 100% information on everyone, but I only saw information on 8 families being compensated. The fact remains that they compensated them, which means wrong was acknowledged, just that nobody was going to be punished for it. Okay? Now, that's not where I'm going. But as I saw this young man, I said, what's the point of causing pain when you're in pain? Why are you looting? Why are stores being destroyed? Why are you taking other people's sources of livelihood away? Why are you compromising other lives? Is this the way to let people know you are mad, that you are angry, that you empathize with the person who's dead? And the boy said, people just want to cause pain because they feel pain. And I said, what's the point to that? Cause pain to who? Because the people that you're mad at, the government, law enforcement, maybe the Caucasians, truth be told, you're not even scratching them by what you're doing. And he said, no. The way we look at it, if we can cause pain, then at least one more person's feel. Who doesn't feel the pain of being black or being killed or being threatened gets to at least feel pain? And I still didn't get it. I still didn't agree. I know that you're trying to show pain, but I don't believe in destruction. And the boy said, I'm not doing it. I'm just telling you the thought process of the people that are doing it. He added this, which I will never forget. He said, my parents didn't raise me. I never knew my dad. My mom couldn't raise me. My grandmother did. He said, but remember how many of those people are lucky enough to have their grandmothers raise them. I would never forget that. So now the story has gone beyond people just misbehaving to people they're already hopeless. There are people that don't have anybody looking after them. There are children that don't have anyone looking after them. And when I say children, maybe not young, maybe in their 20s, young adults. Do you know how many 28, 18, 12, 18, 17 that I read off in the beginning that were killed? Know this, parents. We're blessed, we're lucky to be in the lives of our children and to be able to navigate them and raise them right. Please do. Please do not make this an excuse for you to either be afraid or just join in the conversation and make noise about who's wrong and who's right and forget the essence of the message and use it as a leverage to build up those we have that are the upcoming generation. This is our assignment as parents. This is how we victim-proof our children. Being there is a big factor as it is. Let's walk it right as parents. Teach when you're supposed to teach. Do not keep quiet even when you think they're not listening, because you're building an arsenal. They may not need the the weapons just yet. Someday they will know they have an arsenal to dig into where they can get it. I know there are parents online with me, both on YouTube and on Instagram. Please, let's discuss. I just don't want to talk. Yes, I have things that I wanted to say, but I need you guys to talk to me. I need us to discuss this together. It could be questions, but it could be comments. I need you guys to speak to me right now. And the final thing that I have to say as parents, the way we can victim proof our kids and deal with the impact that these racial events are having on our children is to pray. Not everybody might agree with me, I know. Not everybody who's going to listen to this will necessarily agree with that. Not everybody practices their faith. But like I said, when you've done all and there's nothing else to do, we better go back to our foundation, to our maker. Pray. Let's keep praying for these children, that our children will not be victims. Our hearts go out to the ones that are falling victim, the families left behind. I mean, I was appalled by what happened. I was shocked that one of the victims I read out, Sam DuBose in Cincinnati, had 13 children. And one of the things the government did, along with the $5.3 million in compensation, it included free college for all 13 children. But guess what? Those 13 children ain't never going to have their fathers ever again. Ever again. So remember to pray. Remember to equip your children, not just verbally, not just emotionally, not by your examples, but by praying for them as well. This is my 2 cents. Pray and continue praying. In all that is going on, let's remember it's important to bring the children into the conversation. Let them know what's going on. Let them know the implication of what's going on. And let them begin to appreciate why they need to live above God. Is that the all in all? No. As far as I'm concerned, as far as World of Prayer is concerned, my belief in the all in all is in God. It's only God that can protect us. But let's dare do our part as parents. Yes, I know here you just don't go talking to other people's children, especially when it's not asked of you. But trust me, there are times and places where your word, a sentence, a gesture might be all the upbringing that that child would have. Let's join and band together in raising kids despite the situation that seems so tough, like an uphill battle. Like, no, we don't need to be apologetic for our color, but we can be strategic. We need to be strategic to safeguard the lives, the future of our children. This is what I have to discuss with you today. Again, I would love to see your comments, especially on Instagram. Thank you for all that have joined on Instagram. Thank you for the people that are watching on YouTube. Please, it would be great to have comments. The question I would like to pose to you is, what's the biggest challenge right now if you're a parent? Is it in the thought of raising your children in these times, or actually making the kids do what you want them to do? Where do you think your heart is? Where do you think you're at? Are you anxious yourself? That's actually what we started to discuss, managing anxiety. But in us as parents, and then this whole dam broke loose. Excuse me. So, what's your take? I've left it on your table today. Please let's do something. And in the doing something, know that we're building the generations that are coming. Continue with us, even as we end this. Continue with us in World of a Parent short series that comes every week on YouTube. It's never this long. Our short series is what it is, short series. This is just a special episode because I feel the need to talk, that parents need to talk and just regroup because it's scary what's going on out there. I hope I've been able to um, touch on maybe something in your heart, maybe something that will enable you to make your own plans in safeguarding those children and in parenting the best you can. But always join us on World of a Parent short series on YouTube. World of a Parent, we're also, our presence is on Facebook. You can subscribe on our webpage. Okay, I have a question coming in. Well, as I say, you can subscribe on our webpage is worldofaparent.com. But let me go quickly through this. I think my focus is on raising kind children. Wow. Uh, and pray that they will interact with other children that will be just as kind as they are. That is, there is nothing to add to that. Because, like I said, the goal is not to raise children that are afraid to live. The goal is not to raise children and imbibe in them the fear of another race, the fear of another color, or another race is superior or inferior. Kind is the perfect word. If we as individuals can rise above the tide of hatred, can rise above the tide of soon enough, we will overcome. This is something that we need to overcome. And like I said, it's individualistic. I started, in case you just joined, by saying I never put myself in the position of I understand what the African Americans are going through. I am from Nigeria, I'm African. I never belittle their pain, but I also know that we cannot keep passing pain down the line. And I know that this is not a measure of pain being passed down the line. This is like an attack on the very being of who they are. And it's difficult to rise in that situation. But yes, Tony, raising kind children, raising children that can hold their own, raising children that refuses to bow, that refuses to bend, that refuses to live the life of divide and rule, the life of live and let die. I think that will be part of healing the generation to come. If only, if only we can be true to that. That will be a part of healing the generations to come. Thank you so much for that contribution. Please, we still have a couple of minutes more. If you want to contribute to this, comment, questions, just let's speak. These are parents speaking, but thank you so much for joining me today. Again, it's never always this long. However, let me use this opportunity to prepare you. In exactly 13 days, World of a Parent will be having a free online course bringing, this is for, again, parents. We believe in not just raising parents, but in never losing sight of our personal goals, in being able to build ourselves up, being the parents that our children can emulate, being the parents that will be encouraging our children to be the best they can be. And so, World of a Parent discuss, we always have a topic that that empower parents themselves, regardless of the type of parent you are, whether you're fostering, your kids are real little, your kids are grown, maybe you're even an empty nester. It's never too late to empower yourself. It's never too late to be the best you that you can. So, World of a Parent Discuss brings to the table a seasoned financial a person and an accountant, and it's free. The only caveat is you have to register to be admitted into it. If you go on Facebook, if you have a Facebook account, or even on Instagram, um, the links to registering is there, because you have to register to get the um, to get your login information, depending on how you want to log in, either by free conference call, because we have people that log in from outside the United States and they may prefer calling in on the free conference call HD, or you can join us on Zoom. You can join us on Zoom. I encourage everybody, this is not a requirement. If you're going to join us for that, the topic for that discussion is taking charge of your finances. If you're going to join us for that, I encourage you to read this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. This version, there's a big version. This version, you see, it's petite and it's very easy read. It's a fun read, but it's very impactful. This is only about $5 and some change on Amazon, about $5 and some change. Very easy. So if you want to join us then, it would be great if you can read this before then. This is not to say this is what we're discussing. No, this is not what we're coming to discuss, but it will put you in a position to have a good discussion, have a personalized question to ask that will help you to move you forward in your finances. Again, the topic is going to be taking charge of your finances. Parents, I really appreciate you for being on the forum today. This is where we draw the curtains. Thank you for joining. It's on YouTube. You can go back and rewatch if you joined late. Thank you again for everybody that joined on Instagram, for everybody that joined on YouTube Live. The link is also going to be on Facebook if you're a Facebook person. But feel free to still drop your comments. Feel free to actually ask questions. On YouTube, if you drop your comments, other parents are going to see, other parents might join in on the conversation. And if it's a question that I can answer, I will always answer the question. Thank you so very much. This is World of a Parent short series, a special edition, hence the length of time. Our short series is usually less than 10 minutes. Thank you. And oh, I almost missed this. Okay, we have a couple of minutes left still. Somebody on YouTube said, good discussion and perspective. Thanks very much for the invitation. Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought it was a question. So thank you, and you have a great rest of the day. Please stay safe. And if you have grown children that want to see the demonstration, if you as a parent can go with them to see if it's going to set something in their minds, that's fine. But hold the discussion. Hold the discussion and pray for your children. Thank you, and see you later.